It's a psychological contract, and you need to be mindful and respectful of that. First part. If someone needs to work, someone will come to complete the work. I have never called a meeting late in the evening in my entire career, and never did a meeting on a Saturday or a Sunday ever in my life. And I don't think I did a bad job from a reputation or impact perspective. So it's all meaningless. My problem with this actually is that you assume that we are living in the industrial age, and it's all about carrying bricks and tons of cement on your head. If that is your definition and expectation of your people, I'm sorry, you are a leader of a medieval age, period. Nothing. You have no excuse at all of trying to say it was out of context, I never meant it, and some lousy PR recovery campaign happening after that. People are people. Nor is the average person sitting in the C-suite where you have better money, cars, drivers, household staff where someone can chip in. I mean, I moved the largest company where I headed HR from a 6-day week to a 5-day week. And I was told that it's not in our DNA, and I got the DNA to change that. So it's all about belief and conviction of what do you want to do. And, at the end of the day, if it's an engineering company, they should realize why do they follow preventive maintenance? Because the machine can break down. Don't you think that about people? And and that is why I talk about the hypocrisy of leadership. We talk all the big things from the pulpit. You go to an HR conference, a leadership conference, the CEO, CHRO, they all say the lovely big things. And the hypocrisy is it doesn't get done in their companies. And it gets my goat. Stop talking about it if you don't do it. And that is my issue, that at the end of the day, when will India start believing the power is about innovative thinking? I don't need to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I need to work smart. I need to think. And I will tell you, in my new avatar as an entrepreneur, as an advisor, I actually do lesser hours, far lesser hours than when I was on the other side of the table. But I think I get a lot more out of that hour. Now, which is a smarter way of working? So, a lot of this entire obsession with days and hours is you are assuming people should look busy. Why? And I think Raj talked about that in her opening comments about productivity. And I agree. And I also liked what she just said. I am a person who sleeps at 9:30 at night. And someone calls me at 9 o'clock. I don't take the call because I am not receptive. I'm not, what opinion or advice can I give you? You call me at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm ready to go. So people have different times when they are productive. Be respectful, give people some space. For me, it's max from I know it all. And in my career, I used to use this line, Papa does not know best anymore. And I continue to maintain that line applies to every leader in every company, to all of us, because with our own children, we cannot mandate. We are talking about employees who have a right to kind of walk out tomorrow. I don't think it is the right framing of reference. And societally, we must work hard. I'm not saying we must not work hard, but we must not work like a mule. We need smarter minds. We just don't need, we are not fighting a medieval age war. We are fighting a new modern age war, which is 24/7. And I think we have to smarten our leadership. And just because you have a certain title or you've got something, to expect that you'll not get a muck on your face is assuming things which don't happen in today's interconnected world.
I was sharing the example of Tata Steel, which promulgated a lot of policies much before they became a law. And I was talking about the data working day, which is exactly antithetical to the topic we are discussing. My belief is that if you're looking at an individual, there was a statement that was made saying extraordinary efforts are required for extraordinary outcomes. I didn't hear extraordinary compensation. Now, ultimately, when you're talking of a psychological contract, there has to be an ownership on both ends. I can set, it's not a one-way street, right? I can set whatever expectations I want of anybody else, but what is in it for him? No, the problem with a position like this is that, and what is good for me need not be good for you. And that's why when we're talking about even elements of diversity, the idea is that while you have to treat everybody equally, you also have to have the sagacity to understand that people are different. And therefore, as a leader, it's important to unravel fears. It's important to appreciate concerns. It's very important to understand aspirations. and find a way to help them achieve potential. But it can't just be my story. I think that is what gets a little worrisome when I look at it. It's not so much in terms of number of hours. If I love to do something, I will do it. But do I love to do it, or am I there only to earn a living because of what are the conditions I am in? So, which is why I said, pain is very unique to an individual. And I think, therefore, your larger ability to be able to understand that is a very important element. And leave aside 80 hours, 70 hours, 60 hours. I mean, we know the linkages in terms of productivity. There are developing nations which are struggling in terms of large number of hours and less productivity. And the other way around is happening in developed nations. So there are enablers to productivity that have to do with the number of hours you spend. But leaving all that aside, I think there is a important element here that are we committed to holistic and humanistic development of people? Are they just a resource that I have to harness? We are not in the sugarcane business, right? In terms of crushing the juice out of somebody. You are here where you're talking about somebody who's an integral part of your human capital, the enterprise. And there is an intellectual capital, there is social capital. We are talking about, a long time back, we talked about the fact that, every day I come into the office, the fact that there are people there is what makes the organization living. And when you talked about corporate mortality, I think somewhere when it becomes a one-way street, I think mortality is inevitable. No, that's my personal view on this. I mean, leave aside who said what. I think the contexts are different. Why people say what they say is different. I mean, they might be having a different intent altogether, which may be a good intent. But that's not the issue. For me, the core concern is how we understand the contract between an employee and employer. Is it psychological? And I had mentioned it earlier. Is there a mutual benefit? You cannot create great relationships if there is no reciprocity, if there is no mutual interest, if there is no shared vision and purpose. I think that is what actually creates the enterprise to be a long-living enterprise. I mean, that's my personal belief on this subject.
The other thing I'll just add, very well said, and I love the sugarcane example. But I think one of the other things is, when you thought of work was synchronous. We were all together doing things at the same time, etc. We are living in an asynchronous world, right? Communication is asynchronous. Everything is asynchronous. So the choices are also asynchronous. When you're looking at n is equal to 1 world, you may work at 2 o'clock in the night, it works. Somebody else can work in the morning and finish it off. But, the thing that I would guard against is, especially I talked initially as well, for me, the device is becoming the workplace and there's a danger of working 24/7. And that, I think we need to have some boundaries and people have to figure out their own boundaries, but expecting everybody is going to be clocking at the same time, going to be seeing, etc. Maybe that also expectation needs to change, where we want people to come to office, clock in 12 hours a day, etc. I understand the purpose of having human interactions, but such conversations also perhaps need a reset. And since you're talking about future of workplace, and that I think is also something we need to push forward on.